Hello, erigibo.com, and today, thanks to Photosura, I'm going to present you the Sony a6000. Let's start. First of all, thank you to Photosura for lending me the camera. As always, let me tell whatever I want, good, bad, whatever. So I always appreciate that, and I think it's good for you also because you have my opinion. I may be wrong, but this is my opinion. So after reviewing the Sony Alpha 6400, I put the link here, many people asked me about the 6000 and what was my opinion. Honestly, I was not planning to review this camera because it came out in 2014. So I always think that Sony is going to stop selling it, but they still sell it, and they sell it for really good price. Every day it's a lot cheaper. So many people are looking at it. So Sony in the 6000 line has 4 cameras. 6000, 6300, 6500 and 6400. They all have the same sensor. What's different is the processor that they have more recent processor in the latest cameras. Also the screen is different on the last one. On the 6400 you can actually flip it completely. As you can see on the 6000 you can only orient it this way or this way. I would prefer if it was a lot lower if you want to put picture from over your head, but this is where you cannot do it sideways and you cannot do it up completely. The 6500 has in-body image stabilization, and this has not, and the 6400 neither, and the 63 neither. And the video features are different also, but the sensor is the same. So I'm going to pass you some pictures and video I've made with this camera to give you an idea. They are not great pictures, not great video. I just do them to test and have my own impression. I think this camera, which is a mirrorless camera, apsc format, 24.3 megapixel, is a great little camera. The size, it's perfect, as you can see. Okay, for small hands or people who like small cameras. If you like really massive cameras, you will not like it, or you have really big hands, that would be maybe a problem to use. But for me, not that I have very small hand, but I do like small cameras, I think it's great. Same thing, if you want to use really big lenses, it won't be really stable. So it all depends what you want to do. But I think this camera is good for people who are beginning, people who are advanced user, people who are really expert, and also to some professional. Why? Because it has everything you need. And one of the things beginner will look for is there, which is the typical scene like portrait, landscape, parties, night photography. They don't know how to configure the camera, so they have already this profile ready for it. And also people who don't want to edit in the computer and they want to do like black and white or kind of drawing or some effects. You have also this option, okay? So I never use that, but I know people like it. And what would appeal to a more advanced user? I think the big difference between an entry-level camera and a higher-end camera is the function, the access to each feature. For example, when you are a pro or advanced, you like to have a wheel, specific wheel for the speed, and another separate one for the aperture. But here you have one wheel here, and this one. You can actually turn it, and it's the other one. So you can put speed here and aperture here, or vice versa. You can actually configure it so it's inverted, so you do it the way you want. Also, something that is really great, this is this button here. If I click on it, as you can see, I get a menu here, and all this menu is completely configurable. You can decide what goes in there. So this is really good for you to go really fast because you actually make the camera for yourself. You also have an extra button here that you can actually use to configure some things. Okay, so even advanced user can actually make the camera exactly for them. So this is really good. I really like it. This camera, this is with a kit lens. It came with a 16 to 50 millimeter 3.5 5.6. This is a basic kit lens. It has a two-way of zooming. You can zoom turning this ring, or also there's a button for some kind of electric zoom here. Okay, so this is the camera. I'm going to tell you a bit more about what it does and doesn't do. So one thing people always think when we say Sony, they think ISO. So I'm going to show you straight away what it can do with ISO. ISO goes from 100 to 51,200. I pass you some picture from 800 and you can see the quality. Honestly, at 3200 the image is clean. At 6400 it's usable. From then I think it's limited. But this camera came out in 2014, and if I look at my Canon 5D Mark III, the results are similar. The Canon cost me about 3 or 4 times the price of this camera, so I think this is something to think about when you look at when it came out and similar date and the result you already had with that. Autofocus. It does phase detection and contrast detection. 179 focusing points. It has autofocus in auto mode, single, I mean you press, you focus, you can reframe and doesn't lose it, and continuous. You also have a smile detection and eye detection. By the way, this camera has been for sale for a lot of time, so many shops have it in the stock in the back, and they don't have the latest firmware. This firmware was actually updated last March 2019, so if you buy this camera, make sure you have the latest firmware, because they've updated many things. They've put some new features, they've put new things that are really good, so it's important that you use the latest firmware. Back to autofocus. The eye detect, all I just said. You also have one thing called focus peaking. When you do manual focusing, it tells you on the picture where it's, or on the screen or in the viewfinder where it is focused. And this is really good because it means you can actually use all the lenses with an adapter. I've got a friend who uses a Pentax Takuma 52mm, I think f2. And you use it in manual, so you go really fast focusing because it tells you where the focusing is done, and it's really accurate. So it opens to you a lot of possibility with all the lenses and cheap lenses. I mean, that Takuma cost him, I think it was 80 euros with the adapter. I think it was really cheap. You also have a system similar to what I showed with my Olympus. I've put a link here, which is to have in real time, before triggering, if your picture is going to be overexposed or underexposed. You have a zebra system. Instead of having a plain color on the screen, you have some lines that tell you if you are overexposed or underexposed, but you can know it before triggering, and this is really useful. The viewfinder is 100% and the screen too. It means you don't have any surprise like I've got more than what I thought, I've got less than what I thought. This is exactly what you see in there is what you will get on your picture. You have a small integrated flash that looks like a transformer, okay? The flash synchronizes at 1/160th of a second. This one, and if you put an external flash, you can put here, you have a hot shoe with a central connector, so you can actually put even a manual third part flash, and the synchronization maybe is a bit low, but well, that's okay to me. I don't think it's I would prefer 200 or 250, but this is what it is. We cannot get everything for that price anyway. Obviously they have the typical mode like aperture priority, speed priority, manual, then the P mode, then automatic, then the scene mode I said before, panoramic, and video. There's one thing that is really great, the zoom. You have the optical zoom, obviously. This lens came with it's actually stabilized, but because there's no stabilization in the body, but this lens is optical steady shot, it's called. And this camera lets you have an extra digital zoom. It means, like, for example, this is a 16 to 50 millimeter. if you activate the zoom, there's a zoom called sharp image, even if it's digital, and it actually crops, but it's like a 2x zoom, so your 50mm becomes a 100. So if you need an extra zoom from time to time, if you don't want to buy a lens, you can actually use that. In video, it's up to 4x. When people say, yeah, but if I want to do sport photography, how does this one goes? First, the autofocus is really good. Second, you have a really good burst rate with continuous autofocus. You get 11 frames per second. I know many people doing sports photography, they do it with burst rate that are lower than that. So I think this is really good. One downside, there is no microphone connector. So if you were thinking about this camera for video, you will need an external recorder, or you will need to use the internal microphone. But with internal microphone, you know, if it's windy or whatever, that may be a problem. So you will probably need a recorder or connect a microphone to your telephone and use the telephone as a recorder, whatever solution. That may be a problem for some people, for others it's no problem, but I think it's okay. Even if someone wants to use that camera as a second body for a B-roll, this is ideal, because actually you probably don't need the sound anyway, so it's okay. 330 or 50 grams with the battery, no lens. I think this is really nice. It means if you want to use a gimbal, you can actually use it, and you don't have to spend money on a really expensive gimbal. The lower hand is acceptable, and will manage the weight of that camera, so this is really good. And for you or for a kid who want to learn, it's not too heavy, this is a great little camera for that. It's well connected, Wi-Fi and NFC. You also have an app, Sony app, on your mobile phone, so you can actually manage the camera. Video, it does not do 4K, it does full HD. And it's limited because it does 24, 25, 50 and 60 images per second. I know some people will say, yeah, but if I want to do slow-mo, 60 or 50 is not really slow-mo. Well, if you're actually publishing in 24 images per second, 60 is about what they normally do in cinema. Then it's rare that they're really so slow. Normally they do half the speed. And but this is a limit that's there, and you can record 30 minutes continuously after it stops. I know that the 6400 Sony, the Alpha 6400, has no limit. Camera that record over 30 minutes, they have to pay an extra tax, but from January 2019 they removed that tax, so this is why some cameras now have no limit, but this has still the limit because it's older than this. Battery time, you get 360 pictures out of one battery, and video you get 90 minutes if you're using the viewfinder and 60 minutes if you're actually using the screen, obviously doing several videos because of the 30-minute limit. I think this battery is not too good because 360 is not that much, but this really happens often in the mirrorless cameras. Take into account that it's from 2014, so you will probably need a second and a third battery if you want to do some intensive use, but still, I think it's still acceptable for what it is. So what do I think about this camera? I think this camera, for that price, is about 500 euros, something like this. This is a great little camera that does many things. I don't think it's the best camera in anything, but I think it's good camera for everything. Honestly, if you look at the price, this is probably the best Sony camera right now. Of course, it's the best if you look at the price and what it does. If you think that the Alpha 6400 costs twice as much, when you see what you get with this, you say, whoa, yeah, that's good. If you think what an Alpha 7 III cost or an Alpha 9 cost, you think, yeah, they do a lot more, but do I need all that lot more? Then you think, yeah, that may be good. So the only problem with Sony APS-C is that Sony doesn't have many APS-C lenses that are really thought for this. So that limits you. But there is good news. I'll put you a link to a video I made about alternative brands for lenses. And Sigma has a line of lenses that are really good. They have a 2.8 that are the 19, 30 and 60 millimeters that cost about 180 euros or a bit less. And then they have a new line that open at 1.4, and I think these lenses are really great and they are ideal. So if your budget is about 1,000 euros or dollars, and you think, yeah, with that money I could get the 6400, but what else? The kit lens and that's it. So you think, well, for that money I could buy this one and then a couple of Sigma lenses, and I will be really ready for many things. I think that would be a great option. So I think take into account that this camera is a really good option. If you compare to reflex cameras, maybe you would compare with the Canon 800D T7i or the Nikon 5600. I'll also put links there, I've made the reviews. But I think this camera does more. If you compare to the Canon M50, the M50 has some 4K, which is some crop. It has a microphone connector, but there are not many lenses for the M50. You do need an adapter and put an EF or EFS Canon lens on it. So I think this is a lot less limit. I think it's a really a good option. So would I recommend this camera? Well, yes. Although I'm a bit like unhappy with some Sony fanboys that are really insult everyone thinking Sony is the best. But I think right now for that price, this camera is a great deal, and we're in 2019. It's still a great deal. I didn't like the fact that there is no microphone connector. I didn't like that the screen is not fully articulated, but this is Sony way of doing it. I think the screen is too shiny, the reflection is too much. You do need to put the sunny day option. The problem is that it consumes more battery, but then it's brighter and you actually see. Otherwise, outside you can't really see properly on the screen. That's some negative. For me, I think all screen for any camera should be matte and not actually that shiny, because that's a problem for seeing. Something else I don't like, I actually spoke about it on my review of the 6400, is that I thought it was a mistake of the 6400, but no, it's not an error, it's the way Sony does it. You don't have all your speed available for video. It means you have some speed in NTFC format and some speed in PAL format, but you don't have everything under the same menu as I have on my Olympus. So when you want to change from one to the other, for example, you work in 24p and you want to go to 50p, this is a different system. For whatever reason you want, you have to change NTFC to PAL, and then it reformats your card. So you may forget about it or don't read properly, and then you lose your data on the card. So I don't like that. That's the way Sony has thought about it. I don't know why they do it this way. Many Sony users tell me that it's no problem for them, but for me I think it's a strange way of thinking. Well, that's the way it is. This is really a great camera. So yes, I recommend this camera, and yes, if you have that budget, go for it. If you have more budget, like 1,000 euros for body plus some budget for lenses, then yes, you have more options in mirrorless. I would think or to get the 6400 by Sony, or look at the XT30 of Fujifilm, thinking about APS-C mirrorless cameras. That would be some different option. But if your budget is limited, this is probably one of the best option right now, along with the Canon M50 maybe, okay? For that price, there is not much to think about. Well, thank you for watching this video. If you like it, you can share it on social network. There's a small button down here to do so. Thank you to Photosura for lending me the camera. If you have not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a small button down here, a small bell. If you click on it, you will get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgimbal.com. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below. Send me an email to info@ericgimbal.com. And I also put some links to my gear on Amazon and links to other parts of my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Bye.